Harley-Davidson is suspending manufacturing at multiple factories.
Over the past year, Harley-Davidson shares have lost nearly 1/3 of their value.
Harley-Davidson is dying, and it's not a slow, peaceful death. It's a full-blown cardiac arrest, and the cause? A lethal cocktail of arrogance, outdated machines, and corporate greed. The company's bleeding cash, dealers are waving white flags, and if things don't change soon, we might be watching the final chapter of America's most legendary motorcycle brand. For over a century, Harley was more than just a company. It was an identity, that deep, unmistakable rumble of a V-twin, the wind in your face, the feeling of being untouchable on the road. Harley was rebellion, freedom, the American dream on two wheels. But now it's just another relic of the past, desperately trying to stay relevant in a world that's moved on. Sales aren't just dipping, they're plummeting. North America, the heart and soul of Harley's market, is turning its back on the brand. The younger generation isn't buying into the overpriced, outdated machines their fathers and grandfathers worshipped. And overseas, the last hope for expansion, that's drying up too. The numbers are brutal, and the company's latest earnings report might as well be a funeral announcement. Harley's pricing disaster. Who's paying for this? Remember when owning a Harley was a working man's dream? When you could save up, walk into a dealership, and ride out feeling like you own the road? Yeah, those days are dead. Let's talk numbers, because Harley sure loves pretending that they don't exist. Their so-called entry-level bike, the Nightster, starts at a laughable $13,500. Add dealership fees and boom, you're looking at $17,000 before you even hit the throttle. Want a full dresser? Try $30,000 to $40,000. At this point, Harley isn't selling motorcycles. They're selling overpriced nostalgia to dentists and lawyers who want to cosplay as tough guys on the weekends. And the dealerships? Oh, they're the real MVPs of highway robbery. Markups, hidden fees, predatory financing. Harley dealers, they operate like they've taken a master class in extortion. Riders are sick of it, and guess what? They're walking away, right into the arms of brands that actually respect their wallets. The dealership disaster, a masterclass in screwing over customers. Walking into a Harley dealership isn't like stepping into a Honda or Yamaha showroom where you browse, get a fair price, and leave happy. No, a Harley dealership feels like walking into a mafia-run casino where the house always wins. That Street Glide you were eyeing starts at $24,000, but by the time they slap on freight fees, dealer prep, and some nonsense mandatory accessories, you're staring at a $30,000 loan. And the sales guy? He's looking at you like you should be grateful for the opportunity to throw your money into this flaming dumpster of a deal. This isn't 1995. Back then, Harley could afford to act like their bikes were gold-plated because people were actually waiting in line to get them. Now, customers have options. Walk into a Harley dealership and feel like you're being hustled, you're out the door and into the arms of Indian, BMW, or even frickin' Yamaha, brands that actually respect their riders. Harley needs to slap some sense into their dealers fast, because if buying one of your bikes feels like getting conned, people will just stop buying. The tech problem. Harley is stuck in the Stone Age. Harley-Davidson has spent years selling the same heavy, chrome-laden, air-cooled bricks to a shrinking audience of boomers who think fuel injection is too futuristic. Meanwhile, the rest of the industry has been eating their lunch. BMW is stuffing their bikes with cutting-edge electronics and performance upgrades. Indian's Challenger runs liquid cooling, ride modes, and a powertrain that obliterates Harley's equivalent models. Even brands like Yamaha and Kawasaki are offering tech-packed cruisers that make Harley's lineup look like they were engineered in the Reagan era. And what's Harley doing? Banking on nostalgia, like that alone will keep them afloat. When they do try to innovate, they either half-ass it or price it so high nobody cares. The Livewire? Dead on arrival, because who the hell is paying $30,000 for an electric bike? The Pan America? Actually decent, but not enough to change the game. The Revolution Max engine? A step forward, but they're barely using it. Instead, their main lineup rides like it was built with parts left over from the Vietnam War. Modern riders want performance. They want reliability. They want a bike that doesn't feel like it rolled off the production line in 2003. If Harley doesn't catch up, they're going to be left in the dust. The marketing mess. Harley is selling a dream no one wants. For decades, Harley-Davidson has been peddling the same tired image. Badass, outlaw biker, leather-clad, ride into the sunset with a beer in one hand and a cigarette in the other. And for decades, that worked. But the world moved on. Young riders, they don't care about some outdated Sons of Anarchy fantasy. They're not interested in joining an overpriced aging biker club. They just want good bikes at good prices, and right now, Harley's not giving them either. Meanwhile, the competition is evolving. Indian is marketing itself as a premium high-performance brand. BMW and Ducati are going full throttle on adventure and innovation. Honda and Yamaha, reliability and affordability all day long. But Harley, still shoving the same leather-clad tough guy aesthetic down everyone's throat like it's the 1980s. This isn't just a branding problem, it's a survival problem. When your entire marketing strategy is built on an image that younger riders don't want, you're doomed. And right now, Harley is looking real doomed. The Harley culture, stuck in the past, losing the future. For years, Harley thrived on an outlaw image. It was the bike for rebels, misfits, and people who didn't follow the rules. But here's the thing, the world changed and Harley refused to get the memo. Young riders today don't care about looking like they just walked out of a 1980s biker movie. They care about value, performance, and reliability. Meanwhile, Harley clings to its Harley or nothing mentality like an old man yelling at the clouds. Harley-only clubs? Harley-only rides? That's not exclusivity, that's a self-imposed prison. And riders, especially young ones, don't want any part of that. Dealerships are smug, the culture is elitist, and the bikes are overpriced. No wonder the next generation is saying, nah, I'll pass. The competition is eating Harley alive, and they're letting it happen. Harley used to own the cruiser market. If you wanted a big throaty V-twin, it was a Harley or nothing. But now, competition is serving them a reality check with extra horsepower on the side. Indian motorcycles, once an afterthought, is now running circles around Harley. They offer everything Harley does, better bikes, better tech, better prices, without the attitude problem. Riders who swore they'd never switch, they're switching. Then you got the Japanese brands. Honda, Yamaha, and Kawasaki have spent years perfecting the cruiser formula. They deliver bikes that are just as powerful, just as comfortable, and twice as reliable at half the cost. Riders who actually want to ride instead of just posing in a parking lot are choosing them instead. And let's not forget BMW, Ducati, and KTM. These brands are pushing performance and tech to levels Harley can't even dream of. If you want something built for the future, you're not looking at Harley, you're looking at literally anything else. Harley's been selling the same overpriced, overweight bike for decades, acting like the name alone is enough to justify the price tag. It's not. People aren't stupid. They're looking at Harleys, then looking at what they can get from Honda, Yamaha, Ducati, or BMW for the same price or way less, and making the obvious choice. If you had the option between a modern, high-tech performance, well-priced machine or a bike that looks like it was designed in 1995 and comes with a dealership experience straight out of a bad 80s movie, which one are you picking? Exactly. And let's talk about that dealership experience, because somehow Harley managed to make it even worse than their outdated bikes. Price gouging? Check. Smug salespeople treating young riders like they don't belong? Check. A culture that seems more focused on keeping outsiders out rather than bringing new riders in? Checkmate. They basically built a fence around their brand, locked the gate, and then acted surprised when no new customers showed up. But let's not forget the biggest problem. Harley's customer base is disappearing. Boomers were the backbone of this company for decades. They bought into the Harley fantasy, invested in the culture, and kept coming back. But now, they're aging out. And let's be honest, wrestling a 900-pound touring bike at 65 isn't exactly a walk in the park. Long rides feel like work, the weight's a hassle, and the risks are getting too high. So they're either quitting or switching to lighter, more manageable bikes. And Harley? They did nothing to prepare for this. Who's replacing them? Not millennials, not Gen Z. Ask a 25-year-old about Harley-Davidson and they'll say, that's what my dad rides. And that's if they even think about Harley at all. Younger riders don't care about the leather-clad Sons of Anarchy fantasy Harley keeps selling. They want bikes that are modern, reliable, tech-savvy, and don't cost as much as a down payment on a house. They're going to Honda, Yamaha, Indian, Ducati, brands that actually understand what today's riders want. And Harley's attempts to fix this? Laughable. Remember the Street 500 and 750, the bikes that were supposed to bring in new riders? Cheaply made, uninspiring, and somehow still overpriced. A half-hearted attempt that flopped so hard they had to discontinue them. And now, the brand is stuck selling nostalgia to an audience that isn't nostalgic. Meanwhile, their competitors are thriving. Honda's got affordable, bulletproof bikes that appeal to all riders. Yamaha's dominating the naked bike and sports bike market. Indian? They took Harley's own blueprint and did it better. BMW? Absolutely killing it with high-performance bikes that blend power and tech seamlessly. Harley? Still pushing the same tired image, still stuck in the past, still pretending the problem is anything but them. Look, I used to love Harleys. The sound, the attitude, the legacy, it all meant something. But Harley doesn't love us anymore. They've lost the plot, clinging to the past like an old rocker who refuses to admit the crowd moved on. And now, they're paying the price. Harley's biggest problem? They can't commit. Every time they try to innovate, they trip over their own hesitation. Take the Livewire, Harley's big swing at the electric market. A futuristic bike slapped with an eye-watering $30,000 price tag. Who was this even for? Boomers who wouldn't touch an electric bike if their lives depended on it? Young riders who could barely afford rent, let alone a Harley? The Livewire was dead on arrival. Then there's the Pan America, Harley's first real shot at an adventure bike. And you know what? It's actually good. It's capable, it's competitive. But here's the issue. One good bike doesn't fix a sinking ship. Adventure riders already have their go-to brands: BMW, KTM, Honda. Harley's just the weird new kid at the party and nobody's handing him a drink. And let's talk about the Revolution Max engine, Harley's shiny new liquid-cooled V-twin that was finally supposed to drag them into the future. Sounds promising, right? Except Harley doesn't even know what to do with it. Instead of making it the backbone of their lineup, they stick with their ancient air-cooled relics. Harley's indecision isn't just frustrating, it's straight up suicidal. And if you think all this is bad, just wait, because the economy is absolutely slapping Harley in the face right now. Let's be real, nobody needs a Harley. When gas, groceries, and rent cost more than ever, dropping $30,000 on a bike isn't high on anyone's priority list. And financing? Forget about it. Interest rates are a joke, and only the truly reckless are willing to take out a loan on something that depreciates faster than a bad stock tip. Meanwhile, brands like Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Honda are thriving. Why? Because they actually get what riders want: affordable, reliable, fun bikes that don't require you to sell a kidney. While Harley is still trying to convince people to buy overpriced cruisers, other brands are eating their lunch. But you know what's really driving the knife in? The used market. It's brutal. The streets are flooded with pristine, well-maintained Harleys that cost half as much as a new one. And why wouldn't they be? Boomers are aging out, they're selling off their bikes, and flooding the market with cheaper, better-maintained options. If you can grab a low-mileage Road Glide for 15 grand, why the hell would you spend 30 G's on a new one? Can Harley turn this around? Maybe, but they need a full-blown miracle. Step 1, stop the ridiculous pricing. Step 2, build bikes that young riders actually want. Step 3, get dealerships under control before they drive off the last few customers still hanging on. But will Harley actually do it? If history tells us anything, they'll probably just crank out another anniversary edition and call it a day. So, is this the end of Harley-Davidson? Is the brand finally running out of road? I don't know, but it sure looks like it. What do you think? Can Harley pull off a miracle? Or is it time to admit that the king has lost its crown?